Now, more of The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
Welcome back. We got a lot to cover tonight, so let's just get right to it. So there's been, a lot of reporting coming in, a lot of people making comments, weighing in about Charlie Kirk and what happened, what they've experienced in the past at some of his rallies. This one I thought was really interesting because I happen to know this reporter. Her name is Katrina Barker. She's a reporter with Center Square, and she covered Charlie's recent outing at the Illinois State University, and this is what she wrote on her Facebook. She said, in April, I was interviewing leftists and conservatives on ISU's campus. A few things I took away from the event. This was at a TPUSA event. I didn't feel safe. Trying to access the TPUSA's communication staff was impossible because ISU allegedly denied Charlie amplification devices, which led to the massive crowd huddling too close to Charlie so they could hear the debate. I quickly moved away from the front and focused on obtaining interviews in the back. Number 2, everyone who wanted to speak to Charlie was civil and excited, mostly a moderate crowd. Fringe left was in the back and menacing attendees with blowhorns. Professors and the small security team should have broken up the disruption. Instead, professors whom I spoke with joined the agitators. Number 3, ISU appeared to have not boxed off the windows behind Charlie in the Bones Student Center. The top floor should have been blocked off to prevent people from being behind Charlie. In a window behind Charlie, one student held a sign that said fascist, and there was a Nazi symbol. Professors should have quickly removed that individual from the window. Number 4, I'm an alumna of ISU and have a paper of a professor graded of mine where he encouraged me to call Trump a traitor and called for Trump's punishment as a traitor. I bring this up not to place sole blame of Kirk's assassination on Utah's campus security, but to encourage individuals to realize college campuses must be viewed as some of the darkest places in the nation. Head on a swivel. Well, the person who started a TPUSA chapter at ISU is Kevin Phares, and he joins me right now. Kevin, thanks for being on The Real Story.
Jeanne, I am so happy to be here to talk to you. Not happy about the circumstances, but there is hope. I am actually right now standing just outside of the Kennedy Center, looking at the Watergate Hotel, leaving a vigil for Charlie Kirk, in which thousands of attendees joined in worship to hear from speakers such as Mike Johnson, Caroline Leavitt, to discuss and just to hear stories of Charlie, remembering the absolute legend of a man that is Charlie Kirk and the movement that he inspired, and hearing not only what he leaves behind, but also the movement that lives on in his name.
Well, it's, just tell us a little bit more. I mean, what was enthralling to you enough with Charlie and his message that you wanted to start a TPUSA chapter at leftist ISU? That is not an easy task.
Well, I'll be honest. It was honestly the idea of having free and open debate coming from Naperville in a time in which it used to be solidly red and going purple, and now being pretty lefty. I thought, we need this dialogue that we were seeing from not many people, but Charlie Kirk inspired in the idea of you can have an honest debate with somebody and speak articulately, and you realize the other side. I mean, he often said the only way that you root out bad ideas is by offering good ones. The only way that we come to solutions is by getting all ideas on the table and finding the good ones. And that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I constantly said. And to the dismay of my administration when I was at ISU, I wanted to start that chapter for those conversations, to talk about why capitalism is the greatest economic system we have ever had, why America is the greatest country on the face of the planet, and get into those conversations. And that's really what it was all about. And fortunately, in his death, many are coming to realize that that's what we need right now, is we need honest conversation. And so that's what motivated me, Jeanne.
Well, I mean, it's just amazing because you take a campus like ISU, and I imagine when you started it, the chapter was fairly small, and then you turn around and just a few years later, here's Charlie with like people just mobbing him. Did you feel like he was bringing that age group to an understanding of conservatism and, and our founding principles? And did you feel like that the the rest of the administration, the professorship was was a little bit threatened that he had the youth enthralled with the way that he debated and the facts that he was giving out. Did you think that they viewed him as threatening? And were you surprised by the crowds that surrounded Charlie just a few years later when you could barely get a chapter started yourself?
100%. I was absolutely surprised. And not only do I think that these leftist professors feel threatened, I know they are, and they have felt threatened, and not just by Charlie, but by everyone that he's inspired. When I was a freshman at Illinois State University, I was thrown to the ground by a sociology professor physically. I was physically assaulted by a sociology professor back in 2019 on Veterans Day. While I was hanging up posters, and I knew then that political violence was a problem, and not political violence from both sides of the spectrum. I'm telling you, it was political violence from the left. Clear as day. And I have been trying to tell people for years and years and years that political violence is on the rise, that the left will not stop, and when you back the rabid dog into the corner, they will only bite harder, and that's what we've seen here.
Well, I hadn't heard that story from you. I thank you for sharing it, because people want to believe that it's the right that is politically violent, but that's just really not the case, in my opinion. I mean, I've had my own death threats against me. I just had one about 3 weeks ago. And it's unnerving to have that happen to you simply for speaking up and speaking out. That's all. So, well, Kevin, I applaud you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your thoughts and what you've done with Charlie Kirk, and what do you plan to do in the future to keep your engagement with your age group so that we can win this in the end? Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to keep fighting. I've had many reach out that have said to me, they've been like, I hated you in high school because of how outspoken you are, but I've realized you were right. And so I'm very happy to receive any messages like that. But I'm currently at Liberty University School of Law, and tonight at the event I wore my Illinois Republicans pin, because I will be coming back after I finish law school here to start as little as I can to as big as we can to save Illinois, because if we can save Illinois, then anything is possible, Jeannie. And so that's what I plan to do, and I'll make sure that we start with the grassroots of my age group.
That's terrific. All right. Finish quickly. Do it in 2 years, not 3.
I'll be back.
We need you back here. All right. Kevin Phares, I want to thank you so much for joining me on The Real Story.
Thank you, Jeannie. Bye-bye.
Okay. We'll be right back.